I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, February the 5th, brought to you in part by Performance Livestock Analytics. Performance Beef is software developed by cattle producers for cattle producers. I've talked to several producers that have subscribed to their service, and they tell me that it helps significantly with feeding accuracy, herd health data recording, invoicing, closeouts, and staying connected with those that are most important to your operation, like your nutritionists. For more information, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. It must be the border that's taking this market down. It's not the tariffs that President Trump has said he was going to put on Mexico and Canada, because he's ended up suspending them for a month. So it's not the tariffs that did it. I don't think the 10% tariffs on China would cause any rift in the market that much, at least. But it's the border, I guess, is going to open. It's the first time I've ever seen USDA come out with a statement saying that they were going to do something in a few days. Normally it's exact time when it's going to start, but we are planning on some cattle coming across the border from Mexico, going to be from the northern states there. And I guess what they're saying, and the guys down at the border are thinking, it is going to start slow, maybe 500 a day per crossing there, which is not nearly as much as they would do under normal circumstances. But not sure why it's hitting the market that hard. The border was opened during this whole rally that we've seen going up to these all-time record high prices. But just the fact, anything that is bearish is something that they're looking at to take this market down. But the heck of it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but we assume it must be the border opening. But it has sparked a major sell-off from your managed funds that totally dominate the long positions on your CME cattle futures. So we knew whenever we saw them taking record positions on the long side that at some point they were going to turn around and start selling off and then ride them down. So we saw a big down day, hard down, especially on your feeder futures on Monday, and then down again on Tuesday, and more losses on your feeders again. How far is it going to go down? There's no way for us to know. But April feeder cattle have lost over $10 just in the last 6 sessions. And it's because of all this uncertainty and new administration and changes. We haven't seen anybody do anything at all in that position for a long time. So just doing things has caused a little bit of upheaval there, and we're not exactly sure what's going to happen. But we are going to break through a resistance point if April feeder cattle go down very much at all as the board opens on Wednesday. That's going to be broken, and then that is going to be a very bearish technical signal. So you want to look at that. But it's starting to take a toll on our cash feeders. Cash feeders have been down significantly this week. Your cash feeders is what drugged the board all the way up. They were out front the whole time because we have such a tight supply of all classes of cattle. But as this thing goes down, it looks like that the board is going to pull the cash down. It always bothers me whenever I see the board pulling the cash one way or the other. It ought to be the other way around. But we can't do anything about it. And as it goes down, it's got a long way to go. It could be down $50 a hundred, and we could still be at some really high prices here. So we know we've been on borrowed time here, and how far it goes down, we don't know. But here in San Antonio at the CattleCon trade show, talking to several producers around there, and they feel like that we're very vulnerable, and everybody knows that we are. One thing they are having down here is the Cattle Feeders Hall of Fame induction ceremony that's going to be going on this week, and they've got some big names that they're adding to the Cattle Feeders Hall of Fame. Dan May is one very significant name in the industry, and then my long lost cousin Joe Morgan from Pokey Feeders, in that he's going to be inducted also there in Southwest Kansas. He got to Pokey Feeders at 1985 and they had 17,000 head on feed there. Now they're up to over 100,000 head. Been very successful, and he is one of the custom feeders that people want to get into. So you know, he's doing a good job whenever he has a tight vacancy there and has a lot of producers that are wanting to feed with him. But congratulations to those two gentlemen for being inducted into the Cattle Feeders Hall of Fame. Let's talk about your board on Tuesday. February live cattle futures are down $1.10 at 201.87. April's down $1.50 at 198.65. Then your back months were down $1.10 to $1.35. So pretty consistent. And yes, it could have been much worse. So we don't feel like it's a complete fallout. But your feeder cattle are more so. March feeder cattle down 2 1/4 at 268.25. April's down 220 on Tuesday at 267.62. Then your back months were down $1.45 to down 217. Now the limits are much more than that, and we don't know what's kept it from going more. But like I said, if it goes much more on the open here today on Wednesday, that will be a very bearish technical signal there. Your grains have really liked all this uncertainty, and you wouldn't think so, especially with China, because China is a big buyer of our grains. Not so much our beef, but they are a big buyer of our grains. But March corn was up another 5 3/4 cents on Tuesday at 494.5. Beans are up 16 3/4 at 1075. Hard red winter wheat for March up 9 cents at 594 3/4. Fat cattle trade, we have had no direct trades on Tuesday. We didn't see anything at all in our 5 area feeding region. We did see just a little bit of trade, 200 or 300 head there in Iowa and Nebraska at 325 dressed, and that's mostly $5 lower than the bulk of last week's trade. So it's probably going to be lower here. But they had a good fat cattle auction at Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. Still selling them good there with competitive bidding in a brick and mortar sale barn. That's 1,700 in overnight. Sold 2,400 fed cattle there in Yankton on Tuesday. Conventional fed cattle sell from 205 to 213.50. That was $2 to $5 lower. That top price on conventional cattle to 213.50 was on a big bunch of heifers that were about half prime. Gary Marks told me that he was there, and they sold really well. The program cattle, non-implanted or drug-free, selling from 210 to 217, and that was $2 to $3.50 lower. Box beef cutout values were also lower on Tuesday, with choice cuts down 126 at 330.73. Selects down 241 at 317.41. Here's slaughter up through the first 2 days of the week, starting to fall behind a little at 237,000 estimated cattle slaughter through the first 2 days of the week. That's 1,000 less than this point last week, 12,000 less than this point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Of course, here at DV Auction, we do well over 100 commercial sale barns, so we broadcast them every week, and we continue to grow and grow on our whole family of DV Auction sale barn broadcasters there. But production sales is our bread and butter, and we're in production sales season, just really getting going. During January, we had several production sales there. I want to give you the DV Auction production sale report for January, and this is through our console, our broadcast console there at all the production sales that we do on site. We do about 1,500 of them a year, and January is not one of our biggest years, but still it was very impressive. We had total online bids of nearly 14,500 on January's production sale online sales. Total lots sold in January through DV Auction Console was over 2,250 lots, and it added up to online purchases through DV Auction of nearly $14 million. If you're having a production sale, it's not too late. If you want to broadcast through DV Auction, get a hold of us. we'll get there. We're on site. I tell you what, we've got the biggest pool of buyers that we could open up to your cattle than you can find anywhere, and that is absolutely the truth there. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday after your sales had all closed, sitting at 280.33. That's based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. That was down another 88 cents, so it's starting to come off, but still sitting over 280 based on the 800-pound auction steer. That is still really high. CME cash feeder cattle index has not started to drop yet. It's still just now peaking because it's always lagging behind, but sitting at 281.68. It will be falling significantly over here the next few sessions. Let's talk about your big sales on Tuesday. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri? That 3,200 head through the ring, another 586 head through their in-house video sale they do with help from DV Auction. Market was lower. Feeder steers $4 to $8 lower. Feeder heifers were not really well tested. Your steer calves sold steady to $8 lower, and heifer calves were $5 to $10 lower. They did note, Dan Hill, my buddy that reports the market there for Missouri Department of Agriculture, did note that some of the pee-wee calves were higher, $5 to $6 higher, and I'm talking about on the 3 weights, and $5 to $6 on high $3 calves is not a whole lot, but still it's a lower market, and it is everywhere. Look at Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. They had 4,700 for their sale, and the market was lower. Feeders were $2 to $7 lower, which was the same trend that Oklahoma City had on Monday. Calves were very uneven. Steers were unevenly steady, and heifers were unevenly steady to $10 lower. To check out a market, it's well tested. It was your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you look at your best tested weights. 227 head of 5-weight steers averaged 553 at 333.23. 460 head of 6-weight steers averaged 639 at 311.70. There were 773 head of 7-weight steers averaged 744, and the weighted average price was 278.50. 294 head of 8-weight feeder steers, not nearly as many as they had last week. They averaged 837 at 268.15, and over 500 head, 508 head exactly, 9-weight steers in Beaver, Oklahoma had an average weight of 947, weighted average price of 249.52. Look at some heifers that were well tested. 425 head of 5-weight heifer calves averaged 562 with a weighted average price of 299.40. 321 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 647 at 277.77. 438 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 745 at 252.76, and 400 head of 8-weight heifers averaged 835 at 242. Give you some individual quotes from all around the circuit. How about the special they had at Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota? It was they had feeder cattle, but they also had the Badlands Angus replacement heifer sale there in Dickinson on Tuesday, and the high-selling replacement heifers was 69 head of heifers, only weighed 669 and bring $2,550 a head. I thought that was pretty handsome. How about Huron Continental Marketing in Huron, South Dakota? They sell 88 steers, weighed 650 and bring $331.50. How about North Platte Stockyards in North Platte, Nebraska? They sell 109 head of lighter steers, weighed 546 at $385. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota, come off the Waring Ranch, 140 steers, weighed 787, almost 800 pounds, at $295.25. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.